Hello, welcome to my MyWebUniversity free educational videos. On this session, we're going to talk about chapter 5 of my book and direct path to Linux Ubuntu. We're going to discuss chapter 5, UNIX Shell Scripting. We have already covered chapter 5, a number of these programs already with shell scripting with Bash and C shells. And we have had these videos already put on YouTube as well as MyWebUniversity.com. In today's session, we're going to discuss Unix and Linux shell scripting video number 3. This one is video number 3. On video number 3, I'm going to discuss the structure of if statement as well as the syntax of the if statement in Bash shell scripting. This one, let me just go to slideshow for it. So we will resume with this one as soon as the slideshow is displayed. The if statement is basically a comparison or branching for some kind of Boolean expression. It is testing some Boolean expression or condition. If the Boolean expression becomes true, then the statement will be executed. Otherwise, it will just execute the else part. So let's just go with some of the structure of the if statement here. As you can see, this is on Unix and Linux platform for shell scripting. So the syntax that I'm discussing here is for Bourne shell, Corn shell, and Bash, all of them, or same syntax for both Unix and Linux platform. Unix would be Solaris operating system, Mac OS X, and Linux would be like Debian, CentOS, FreeBSD. Not FreeBSD is not actually FreeBSD is a BSD based on Berkeley software distribution, similar to Solaris and Mac OS X. Mac OS X is Darwin, but it's based on BSD as well. And Solaris is also based on BSD. Linux is basically based on Linux operating system, which is a clone of Unix. But Linux, they have a lot of distribution like Linux Ubuntu, Linux Red Hat, Linux CentOS. CentOS is also based on Red Hat, and then Rocky is a replacement for CentOS. CentOS was the community version of open operating system for community enterprise. That's what CentOS stands for. But we're discussing here Linux and on this example, and Linux Ubuntu on this platform on Bash scripting. So as you can see here, I have on the left side the sh for Bourne shell, and then the ksh, which is Corn shell, and then the Bash, which is the born again shell. And Bash is a superset of both Corn shell and sh Bourne shell. So whatever functionality was on Bourne shell and Corn shell, Bash does have that functionality, as well as it is a superset of them. So it has more functionality. We're going to discuss the if statement for Bourne shell, Corn shell, and Bash. In particular, in this example is Bash, because the syntax is more exactly like the same. It's not like any difference in comparison to C shell and true C shell, CSH and TCSH, that the syntax is more like C-like syntax. So this is the structure of Bash in this example that you're seeing. So basically, it is if some Boolean expression is condition is analyzed, and if that condition happened to be true, then the statement following will be executed. And the statement that I have here is one or more statement. Could be a command, could be a function call, could be a statement like assignment statement, could be more if then else statement, could be a for loop, could be while loop, could be any of them. But the if statement, it checks for a Boolean expression, one or more Boolean expression. That's why the S is there in the structure. So it is going to compare it. If it finds it, then it's going to just run it. And the syntax here, I'm going to give you the example. For example, we say F left bracket $pound dash LT. Dash LT means less than 2. So if the $pound, which is the number of argument passed on in the command line, if it is less than 2, then you call the function usage. Usage in this case is a function that is previously defined, and then you just call it that one. The F condition that it checks within the brackets, some Boolean expression, has to result into a true or false statement. And it has to be a Boolean expression. It cannot be something that does not resolve into a Boolean expression. So as an example, if you say 5 is greater than 10, that's a Boolean expression. Or if name is equal XYZ, then it's a Boolean expression. If name is equal Wahid Lutfi, then you're comparing it with that string Wahid Lutfi. If name has the same exact values and it's case sensitive, so then it's going to just resolve into the then part, and it's going to execute whatever statement or a combination of more statements after the then. It will execute all of them. And then the F condition matching, you could have one or more of these kind of expression within the bracket. And if you have 2 of them, you either have a AND statement for Boolean expression or an OR statement. The AND syntax is double ampersand, and then the OR is double bar or pipe symbol. And then when you do that one, you are going to put each one of those functions within another bracket. So, and the entire thing has to be put into the bracket as one statement. That way it finds it. So the structure of the Boolean and the if else statement, for example, the if else statement here, we're going to look at it as if Boolean expression is true. Let me go back to this one. If Boolean expression is true, then a statement will be executed, whatever list of statements. So the if Boolean expression, as you can see, the left parenthesis, right parenthesis, S, as well as the statements, I put that S, meaning that it could be more statements. It doesn't have to be one statement always. And these statements could be assignment statement, could be function calls, could be another if statement, could be a while loop or file loop, or could be anything. Could be a command that you could be running it, all of that. The else part is basically going to be executed if the Boolean expression becomes false. And this is the structure for it. So now this is the syntax. For example, in this example, the syntax, we were saying if $pound is less than 2, then call the usage function, else do the comparison function. So you could compare the function. So if the number of argument is given less than 2 and you're looking for 2 numbers and the user only provided 1 or none, then you're going to call the function usage. That way you give him a proper examples of how the argument should have been passed. And if and the argument was otherwise were 2 arguments or more, then you are going to do this comparison that you could check on that function. There's also a syntax of the FLF statement. The FLF statement is similar to the ELSEF, but it is more a comparison, more Boolean expression. So if Boolean expression is true, then you execute those statement. Then you do another LF Boolean expression, and then you execute those statement. Notice that the left bracket and right bracket of more LF, and then the 3 dots that is representing that if you have more comparison of LF statement, then you have to just, you're allowed to run more than 1 LF statement by providing the syntax that I provided within the brackets. So the bracket is not required, the dot is not required, but you're just assuming that that's optional. So if there's more than one, you have to write another elif of the Boolean expression that you're doing and then execute it. That's the structure of FLF statement. And then we have the syntax for the same statement. So now we're comparing if $pound is less than 2, then call the usage function. elif $pound is exactly equal to 2, then call the compare function. So in this case, the elif would be executed if the first one is $2 is not less than 2, but then it's exactly equal to 2. But if it is equal to 3, it will not call the compare function. So you have to just do those elif statement whenever there's need for it. This is the FLF and then also else part. So this one is going to compare the Boolean expression. If that is true, then it's going to execute the statements or combination of statements that follows after the if statement. But if it is not true, it's going to check for the elif part. And then the elif part is actually, I missed that part that it has to have a Boolean expression right after elif part. And that is on the structure, the elif part has to be added. So elif and then another Boolean expression. And then you do the statement else and do the other statement. So here actually on the syntax, because I'm doing it, I just remember that I had to put the elif part. So the elif part has another Boolean expression. So the syntax of FLF else part, first it checks for the pound and dollar pound. If it is less than 2, then calls the usage function. In this case, if it is not the case, then it's going to do a elif $pound exactly equal to 2, then do the comparison function. And if it is more than 2, then obviously falls in the else part, and it's going to say you provided more argument than I was expecting it, invalid number of arguments. So you could just call a function, do something else to parse it correctly. And then there's also nested if statement. In this case, the structure of nested if statement is whenever you have nested if statement or nested for statement or looping, whenever you do nested in computer science, we're just putting one if statement inside another if statement. So, and having a combination of multiple if comparison and there. And there are times that you do that one in order to just branch into a different section or handle certain subroutine or some section of the code that you want to just do only match on a certain condition. So in this case, a Boolean expression is going to be true, then it's going to execute the statement. Then you have a nested if statement inside that every if statement has to have a fi as end of it on the syntax part. And then every if statement, there's a then part after that. Then you execute one or more statements there. The else part, in this case, because I wanted to fit it on one screen, you have a choice of saying else semicolon as if you are putting next to another line and then statements. So whenever you do, like, for example, if Boolean expression, you could put semicolon then and then execute that one similarly instead of going to the next line. And then every if statement, as I mentioned, on the bash and corn shell and C shell, not C shell, sh Bourne shell, you have to have ended with a fi. With the other ones, you have to end it with endf. But we're not talking about C shell or TC shells or Z shells in this case. We're talking about bash, corn shell, and sh. So this is the syntax for it here. And then here on this one, the nested if statement, we're comparing pound dollar pound less than 2, the number of argument, then you call the usage function. Otherwise, it's going to look for a variable $found, all uppercase, and if it is equal to 1, the value of that one, then it says set the flag value to true, otherwise set the flag value to false, and then end of FI, and you could do those ones. And this nested statement, it could go forever as you do it. It doesn't have to be only 2 lines of if statement. But normally, you don't want to do that one infinitely, just checking and checking. There has to be some kind of better condition matching when you're doing it. And then sometimes you're writing a switch statement or some sort of better algorithm to just make sure that you're not just stuck into like an infinite loop and there. And also the status code and $? If it returns to 0 value, then the program or the command or the Boolean expression that you were checking on, if the status of $? Equals 0, then it means the command successfully completed, or the comparison was success. Otherwise, it's a failure. So any number but 0, it's a failure. Let's just go now with the examples. So I'm going to just first close these ones, because actually I don't need to close it, but I'll just leave this site here, and then I'm gonna go to a bash shell. So in this case, I'm already logged on my machine here, which is Linux Ubuntu, and then OS-release. And if I just say PS, and then you could PS-P $, also tells me that I'm using bash, and I could type in ID or get end password. WLFP, I could see that it is I'm using /bin bash, and I could also say echo $ shell. That also tells me that it's bash. So which bash, it's also telling me this. And then if I just want to now look at some script here, let's look at some script with the if statement and the smaller and everything else. So now I'm going to just vim for the f-statement.sh. And then I'm gonna show you this one, very simple program. So let me just delete this blank line here. It's not necessary, and then WQ, write it. So I'm going to vim here. As you can see, is this one is saying /bin sh, which is Bourne shell. But I want to just make it dynamic. So I'm going to say on Unix, on Linux, you normally use a bin env as the program that always gets installed on user bin env. And when you do user bin env and then bash, automatically you'll drop off into the bash there, because it finds the bash shell. And notice that this is my second shell that I just got in. So if I say PS-P again, and then $, you can see that now it shows the number ID of that one. But I want to go back to my original one. And so this PS-P $, will be the 19, and then that's only bash that I have. If I exit out of this one this time, it will close my session. Remember, I was saying that $ status is basically for every command that you type in, the $? Is going to point whether that command succeeded or not. So when I clear the screen, it was successful. If I do PWD and do the $ this. But if I just type in some garbage here, that command not found, now $? is not pointing to 0. And if I just say -l test thing .123, something that doesn't exist, also the question mark is going to return non-zero. So any number that other than that is going to be a status code of this. So if I just do ls minus l star.sh, since that command succeeded, $ question mark should be equal 0, which is successful. So let's do a vim f dash statement .sh. And I'm going to just show you that these variables, I define it as 5 and 10. So we're doing a comparison here. If value 1 is less than value 2, then the value is 1 is smaller than the other one. Otherwise, goes to the else part. It's very simple, and then the syntax is very easy. So we're going to just run it. Say, let's just do f and dash statement.sh. And you can see that the value of those two numbers are the same. I mean, 5 is smaller than the value of 10. But I hard-coded that program there with the value there. So we don't want to do normally hard-code it. We want to read it from the arguments there. So f dash args and .sh is for that purpose, I believe. Let me see what is in the content of it. F dash args.sh, 5 more. So this one is going to look at the $1 and $2. So the arguments are passed on into the command line. $0 is the name of the program. So $1 is going to be passed on as to the value 1, and $2 will be passed on to value 2. And if otherwise, it's going to just give you an error. So here we're going to just do a comparison. If the value, assuming the value was accurate, is going to do this comparison function, when, which is value 1 equal value 2, then it's going to just execute the statement. Otherwise, it's going to go to the elif statement, and it's going to do this statement. Or it's going to just say, if both other statements did not become true, the else part becomes true, which is like a default at the end. Then it's going to say the value of this one is smaller than the other one, because we compared greater than or equal, and then it must be smaller. So this is basically sees how many number of arguments are passed into the command. And if it is enough, that's 2, that's great. Otherwise, if it is less than 2, it calls the usage function, which we define up there. And similarly, if it is 2 or more, then it's going to call the comparison function, and comparison is going to get those 2 values. So let's just run this script here. Since the name is f-args f-args.sh, I'm going to say f-args.sh, and this time I'm not going to give any argument, and it's going to say, well, you did not provide the number of arguments there. Notice that the script does not say the number of arguments. So here I'm just using a variable which needs to be corrected. So let's do vim f-args.sh, and then right here we're assuming that value 1 is passed on. But if the user does not have this, we cannot use, say, a $value 1 and $value 2. So this is correct, because $value 1 is not going to point to anything. So now I just saved it, and I'm going to run the same script that says, okay, the number of arguments that you passed on, it was not given anything here. $0 is there. So let's just give one argument, say 10. And then obviously it still says that I did not give one argument. The second argument was not there. So this program is going to just still not work, because it's expecting 2 arguments. So if I just get another argument as 100, now it's going to say 10 is smaller than 100. And if I just change this one to 5, then it's going to say 10 is greater than 5. But if I change it to 10, then obviously it's going to say this. So the number are dynamically read. So if I make this one 555 and this one also 555, this is going to say equal. And if I make one character here or change this one to one character different, it's going to say whichever one is greater one is going to do that greater. So that's how the if statement and other ones are going to be compared here. Let's see another statement here that we, so if a smaller numbers and the other set, so let's see cat minus n, let me just do vim if a smaller number dot search. So this one if is basically the same thing that we did earlier with the if statement. So we just are just checking for a smaller, whichever one is smaller. We are not going to compare further. So this is something we could do that here as well. And then this last one that I'm doing here for if else statement, I believe this is the one for else part. Yeah. So right here, you can see that the value 1 is 5, and we can just set the value 1 to say $1, and then the value 2 to just say $2, and then it doesn't matter that it's there. And right here, as soon as is there, now this one is no longer set to those values that display the result of comparison. So the value 5 and 10 is not the only value we should be expecting. So right here, if I just run this statement and say f-else-statement dot set, and I say 10 and 22, then it says no such else is, okay, so the else is there. Now you see that it is working with this. So let me clear my screen, and then so cat minus n f dash else dash state else dash statement dot sh. You can see the way this program works is going to read these argument 1 and 2, and then it's going to compare them within this Boolean expression, and it's going to do it. Also, you can do on the fly where you don't have to be inside a script. I can say if 5 is greater than 10, that's a Boolean expression. Then I say, then echo, say yes. Since it is not the case, it's going to go to the else part, and it's going to say echo no. So this is, you can do it like that too. So why did it say 5? If 5 is greater than 5, in this one, you have to put it within the bracket to make sure that the condition is matched. And then now it's going to say 5 is greater than 10. That is not true. It just came out to say yes. The reason it is there because it's comparing 5 against 1. So if you just put like this, 5, and this is string, and then says it's still yes, and then since you're doing a string comparison, you're going to do equal, and then that's going to go to not no, which is accurate. But if you're just doing it, notice that the 5 with the numbers, if I just put 60 here, since 6 is greater than this, it's going to go no. Actually, if 5 is greater than 60, so let's see why this one is saying yes. Yeah, so the comparison of these numbers basically depending on whether you're comparing a string or you're comparing numbers. If you're comparing numbers, you have to put dash EQ rather than the greater sign symbol or less than sign or less or equal than sign. So and these symbols less than or equal or less than or greater or equal, they are for numbers and also for strings. But the ones that are there here, like this double equal sign, is for in Shell it is the equal sign. In every other language is a double equal sign for comparison. But in Shell, as if it's a sign in a statement, and then and that is comparison of strings. So I'm going to just check another way to do some if statement. So for example, if I just have star.sh here, let's just patch this file, and I'm just going to say, actually, ls-l and this. I just created that file. So then I could say if if this file exists, that is a short form of it, and then I'm going to remove it. Then /bin/rm and this. So now if I do this, that file is no longer there. But then if I just say, let's say ls-l, or just say echo testing, just this one, and I say test.txt. So now cat test.txt, and then I just want to say if this file test.txt exists, then cat -n test.txt. So run it in one line statement. You can do that as well. And then so the ampersand Boolean expression here that is there, we're just doing the comparison of that, and as well as execute this one. And if I just say rm it, and then now that file doesn't exist, and it's not gonna do any cat. And if I do ls-l test.txt, it is there. So if I say make a directory new dir, and then ls-l d new dir, now the new dir is there. But if I want to say if $-d for directory new dir, and then I'm gonna say compare it, and then ls-l d new dir, I could do that one as well, and that would show up that directory. And then I could just say, just go ahead, touch a file and say echo testing again, or demo, just whatever word you put, demo on dir, and then just that one, and we're going to create a directory, and here, and just call it, say the file is demo1.txt. So this one is going to be echo, but I have to say the greater sign because I'm creating that file. So now ls-l new dir is there, and then the content of the new dir also has a file demo1.txt. So then I could just say if that file exists, then just do ls-l, and then at the same time do ampersand, and then list it first, then the cat new dir /demo1.txt. So it just lists it first right here, and then it says the content of it there. And then if I just want to do one more and then this time I'm going to say rm new dir and demo1, or I could just remove the directory entirely. So rm minus rf new dir. This would just delete it after it displayed it. Now this time if I do ls-ld new dir, it doesn't exist. So you can do on the fly scripting if a statement. Please subscribe and watch these videos and make comments so I could make more videos for you. You're welcome to just add on the content of what else you want to see, like if a statement, for statement, while statement, functions, and everything. I could do it for you on shell scripting, bash scripting, awk, and set, grep, and everything on those programming or environments. Like here I have some videos already, and then as well as if you want it like in Python or C, C++, all of those ones I'll be adding on to these videos. But please make sure you subscribe so you get to be notified on all the videos that I post. Have a nice one. Take care. Love and peace to you all. And I'm going to run this script basically to thank you for watching my channel, which is peace.sh. And then basically it shows MyWebUniversity free education videos. And then you're welcome to go to the end of the video and subscribe. And then love and peace to you all. Take care. God bless you.